Live from What Women Want, it's 172.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at with your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
Good afternoon, Wade Laurent. How are you?
Good afternoon, Shane Chapman. I'm well.
Good. Missing Brace today.
Well, he was here, but he left.
Yeah, he left. It's his daughter's birthday this weekend. They're doing a really cool thing. Did you hear what they're doing?
No.
They're driving up to Saskatoon, I believe today, maybe tomorrow. And she's a big foodie, just like he is. So they're driving up there, and he's going to take her to like 12 restaurants for her birthday.
Holy smokes.
They're just going to travel around, try out all these different places, order a little bit from every place, and
That's
make
fun.
a day of it. I was like, that sounds like my kind of birthday.
Yeah.
But he skipped my birthday. Oh, mine's coming up.
I was like,
He
there's
can
still
still do
time.
it. He can still do it for my birthday. So anyways,
Send him a note.
I will send him a note. We're here at the What Women Want trade show in Regina, which is the first show that we've had the pleasure of taking part in 2 years.
Yeah, the first show, and then the first time we've done this show specifically.
This one's brand new to me, yeah. I dig the vibe of this show.
Yep.
Quite a bit, actually.
good.
So there's music playing, so it doesn't feel trade showy because the tunes are turned up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to the organizer, and she's like, I want them louder. But they're like, there's some reason, I can't remember what she said, there's like some reason they can't go louder. But it's kind of pumping, so it's kind of like,
Yep.
not nightclubby vibe, but like, it's a happening thing. It's not just a trade show with people selling stuff. It's like, there's a vibe in here.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I think it's double energy because nobody's been to a show for a long time.
that too. And they're selling drinks.
Right. Why don't more shows do this? So
don't know.
in the States, they do.
Yeah, they're
But
not
in
scared of a
Canada,
drink.
well, in Western Canada, it seems like people don't sell drinks here.
Yeah. So
In Saskatchewan specifically.
there's your answer.
Yeah.
And if we just peel back the layers, there's your answer. So anyways, yeah, I found out from somebody who's like, hey, so you're having a couple drinks at the booth today? I was like, oh yeah, we'll probably sneak a couple beer in at the end of this thing, celebrate. And he's like, yeah, I've got some Caesars behind my booth here chilling because I'm not going to pay $8 for one. And I was like,
Pardon?
You'll pay, what do you mean you'll pay $8 for one? He's like, yeah, they're charging $8 for a Caesar here. I was like, they sell booze here? During the show. So anyways, cool vibe. This show is all about what women want. It's named very appropriately.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of there's a lot of like fashion stuff and jewelry and just things that it's a women's trade show. But we thought that what women really want was decks. So
And
here we are.
And we came out in a big way.
Yeah, we brought
have
700 square feet of
We
deck
have
here.
700 square feet of deck.
So anyway, we thought what better thing to do than to talk about the value of doing trade shows at today's booth since it's the first one in 2 years.
Yeah, and we've had some people ask whether they should be in shows or not, right? Different contractors or different, stores, competitors. So
Seems to be something that different contractors have very differing opinions on. There's some guys that are like, yep, have to do them all the time. Other guys are like, I've done it, they're garbage, not worth the time spent.
Yeah.
Or the money, or
Yep.
the staffing. It's a lot of work. There's no doubt about it.
it's a lot of work.
So this trade show here that we're doing is it's different than the traditional spring home show that we usually do. It's a much a little bit smaller scale, but just the type of booths that are here, they operate easy out of a 10 by 10 square because they're selling merchandise, right? We show up with this 700 square foot thing, and the organization of this event is not prepared for that shit.
Not like what we do, right?
There's no forklifts, no scissor lifts. You have 3 hours to move out tomorrow night after the show. The show ends at 9. So they give you from 9 to midnight to move out for most people, it would be packing up a suitcase, grabbing your table. Not even grabbing your table. The table's supplied. For us, we might be here till 5 in the morning tomorrow night.
It's a lot.
So it'll be interesting.
Certainly there are some booths here that have substantial setups, right? But to pack up a coat rack full of clothes, it's quite a bit quicker.
Then packing up
Squeeze
3 decks.
the coats up, lay them down, away you go.
Yes, this is true. I just realized right now, I was signed into the wrong Instagram account when I fired this thing up.
Oh, you're doing the other 18.
And so we were recording a different podcast today, and I didn't realize I was still logged into that one. I just looked over, and Mick Condex was like, well, it's been a while since I've seen this handle, the other 18 handle.
Triggered.
So we'll fix that, right? Meow.
Okay.
So anyway, you wrote an article recently, and we haven't published it yet, but it was about the value of trade shows, and you kind of broke it down into you're going to get out of it what you put into it or what your expectations are of it. But there's two ways to approach them. One is to get there and sell things, which this trade show is very much about that. Not for us. For us. Most of the vendors here, they brought merchandise to sell here.
They are taking cash home from this show.
Yes.
And that's typically not our style. And I don't think that's our style in this show either.
No.
We're still going to continue to just like inform, educate, teach, provide value. So the two methods, the two theories that I had were sell or don't sell.
Right.
And so the idea behind sell is, like you said, you show up and you try to gain a portion of your annual revenue from the show. I don't really like that style. Not for what we do.
For what we do.
For what they're doing, like for the people, the peers at this show, that makes sense for them.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, on the other podcast, we interviewed today Michelle Strawford who organizes this show, and she owns some retail fashion stores. And so her business started out just selling stuff at these kinds of shows. And she never even really wanted to get into retail. She never wanted to open a space. She did most of her business and still does a bunch of her business through these trade shows, because for the right audience, for the right kind of trade show, the right business, like this What Women Want thing here, a lot of these people, these women that are showing up here today are coming here to spend some money. They're treating themselves. This is a chance to get out with some friends, shop around, buy some earrings, buy some clothing, whatever you got here.
You can go to 40 stores here with one building.
Yeah. Or probably almost double that. I think she said they had 100 and some vendors in here right now.
Right.
So,
but you're not going to buy from all of them.
No, you're not. Only 40, right?
But still.
You got to answer questions.
Fantastic.
So, if that's your thing, then selling is your thing for trade shows. But for contractors, generally you're not going to sign off on too many $58,000 deck projects at a trade show.
Right. And so in the article I wrote that you probably could. You know what I mean? Like, you actually could go there and be set up to take deposits.
Well,
and you could be ready to
possible.
Go. And what I wrote in the article was that I didn't think that was a great way to go about it, because it seems pushy and it seems aggressive, and you have a bunch of barriers to break down with these people before you decide, or before they decide they're going to hire you, or that you want to work with them.
Right.
So make it the introduction part. Make it like, get the information, find out the address, basically what they're doing for a deck or a project, and then go there. Spend the time with them there. Don't do it in the show. Your time at the show is valuable. You only have a few hours. So make sure that the time you use in the show is used properly.
Yeah, I think what a trade show is all about is getting, for one, it's exposure primarily, especially for contractors, is getting in front of people, and it's a chance for you to make a great first impression in your environment. Like, you've kind of created you got to recreate your brand in your environment at the place. Instead of going into meeting somebody first by a phone call or an email over something, whatever, you get a chance to actually show yourself, build some of that trust, build some of that rapport up front before you ever go to their house.
Correct.
And then, because the other way is you email and you phone call back and forth, but the first chance you get to really leave a good, solid in-person impression is at their house and their home, and you're in your... You might not be in your best, you might be fresh off a job site or something, but when you're in your own environment, you're bringing your A game to a trade show. Not only that, but for contractors who don't have offices and operate out of their trucks, this can become your office a little bit. It can give you a more professional image than rolling up in your truck and just operating out of a trailer.
Certainly.
Some guys have showrooms, so that's it's a permanent trade show essentially.
Yeah, big advantage to having that.
Yeah.
So,
Carly in the Instagram chat here, now that we got the right account up here, says it's great for leads and inquiries. Yeah. And I think that's how we treat it as well. Sometimes people do come up and they're like, I'd like to get a quote on. It's like, great. Well, of course, capture that information. Of course.
Certainly. And we've done that already.
Yeah.
We've had that happen here, and it's like, no problem. We fill out our sheet. We're prepared to take information.
Yeah.
What I didn't do was deliver a quote.
Yeah.
Or take a deposit.
Yeah.
No problem. I'll get back to you. I have other people to see.
And we could. We've got everything here that we could do it. It's just, again, for us, well, for anybody, that's just not something you decide in 10 minutes. You don't walk up to a thing and be like, oh, we need a deck this year. Pick your shit out. And nor did we bring our entire selection of stuff here that our store would have, right? If somebody's looking to pick colors here, well, we didn't there's in the past we've had a booth like that where
Yep.
we had all this stuff here and it was
Yep.
like, oh, that's a lot of setup, and odds are they aren't making that decision today anyway. So today
But
it's
also
just
nobody comes here expecting to go home with a deck. Like they might go
Right.
home with a candle
yeah.
or some clothes.
There's no need to buy right now. You can pay next week. Like you can book in next week.
yeah.
It's not like
Honey,
So-
you're not going to believe this.
Whereas
I came home with a deck. It's in the truck. I'm going to need a hand.
The guys will be here tomorrow. So
So then,
what are some tips? What are some tips that, like, how should you, if you're not trying to sell, you're always trying to sell yourself, of course, but
yeah, but
trying to capture leads, what are some tips for people to get somebody's attention to start the conversation that you would give them being at a trade show? People are walking by, they're not expecting to see a deck builder there maybe potentially.
I think jump out in front of them is usually, that's a really good to get people to slow down, right? No, so typically what we would do is we were just there. I was just available, right? I didn't ever start a conversation. I didn't reach out to people. It's like, but I was around, and if they started to talk to us at the booth, then I talked to them.
Right.
And I certainly wasn't selling. I was just talking. And if they were talking about how crazy of an inlay you had, it's like, yeah, you know what? That took a little bit of time to do. And you know, it's certainly time consuming, but it looks great. And what do you like about it? And boom, then they have to talk to you, right? So
I think that's a good point. For one, I think when people come to these shows, this one's different. This one has a different vibe to it. I think people are coming here prepared to spend money. But normally at a trade show, a lot of people are coming in there to kind of just like to spend an afternoon. They probably need some stuff. That's why they came in the first place, but they're not looking to pull the trigger today necessarily. They're already expecting to be catcalled as they walk by.
Yeah.
Like they kind of have the guard up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's a trade show and there's like a lot of booths will be like that. Like, hey, let's just sit down here in the massage chair. Like,
yeah. And so I wonder if that's because the shows that we have been in the past are home style shows.
Yes.
Where it's like plumbers and flooring and electrical and exterior on your houses. A lot of the stuff that in the building industry isn't selling
Right.
that day. But the anomaly at those shows is the lady with the frying pans and the guy with the shake weights and the ShamWow cloth, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those people are there. And
To sell only.
that's an aggressive sales pitch on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so in the past, our trade show experience was a whole room full of people not selling and a few people that are very aggressive sellers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that gets your back up. You walk on the opposite side of the aisle. You already know where that person is and you're not interested.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've also had those trade shows where we've been attendees at them. And it's like some guy selling whatever, the next greatest clip or the next greatest deck board, but they're very abrasive.
Yeah.
It's like, well, don't be that person.
Yeah.
If you don't like to be sold to that way, then most people don't like to be sold to that way.
Right. Yeah. So what would you suggest to somebody, let's say a contractor decided, okay, I'm going to do a booth.
Yeah.
This is my first one.
Yeah.
What's your take on like what effort they should put into the booth and what should they have at their booth? I always think there's got to be some sort of hook. There's got to be some sort of thing to grab somebody's attention. Not catcalling and snapping your fingers, but like how can you make your booth look attractive, make people want to stop? Like we've tried some different things throughout the years.
So I think some cutting edge building practices, whether that is cable rail or a pergola or lights, although none of those things are really cutting edge. They're not brand new to the industry, but they're not being done all over the place.
Right.
And so make something that's a little bit
eye-catching.
Yeah. Just make people slow down a little bit. Lights, slow people down. Aerial structures, slow people down. Cable rail. So, something like that. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't do something that I wasn't good at. So if you've never curved a deck board, don't curve a deck board for that show.
Yeah.
It's going to take you forever to do it.
Yeah.
And then when somebody shows up and they want a curved deck board, you're going to have a negative connotation about that. You're going to feel bad about that board. You're not going to want to sell it. So don't do that.
Right.
Do something that you're good at, do it well, that you can make money at, and then jazz it up a little bit.
Yeah. We did that for a couple of years. We brought the actual heat kits to the shows. That was our hook for those years. Like,
So
how
that
do we
was
capture some attention? It's like, well, do something that people don't normally get to see. We don't even we don't install that. Like, it's more of a contractor thing probably to be showing that off, but it was just a neat thing to have. That was obviously related to our industry.
Yes.
So we brought the blankets out, and then you get a bit of a crowd gather around. and you give a couple people the gloves and be like, pick that board up, tie it into a noodle. And it's like the people's faces are like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what has that accomplished? Like nothing other than it's just like one more brand hit. You got somebody to stand in front of your booth for a little bit, kind of remember your name a little bit more. Did they leave with any value? No, it was a neat experience, but it was a chance to put yourself in front of them for an extended period of time, not just walking by. Yep. So it has value to it. Another year we cut a Blue Jay logo into the deck. That was our inlay. That would kind of catch some eyes.
Yep.
We had a celebrity, like a football player at our booth one time to kind of catch people in the sun.
Yeah, I'd recommend not doing that one.
Yeah? Yeah, like that
I wouldn't do that one. No.
Why? What didn't you like about that one?
I didn't think there was any value in that. You did. You thought that it worked out okay. But
yeah, I thought it worked. Like, I don't think we need that anymore. I think we grew out of that. Like, that was our first year. That was the same year we did the Blue Jay deck and the thing. We had 2 hooks. It was like the Blue Jay thing that people are going to stop me like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then we had like a local, well, not super local, but like a celebrity that was that mattered to the local people.
Correct.
So that was cool. It brought some people to our booth. Like, I don't know how many people stopped and came to our booth only because of that, or like wouldn't have stopped if it wasn't for that and then remembered her name. What I do know is that trade show was incredibly successful for us.
Yeah, but
whether it probably didn't have a whole lot to do with the football player, but it was just like, it was one more little thing we could do to try to get people to like stop for 1 extra second.
Yeah, at that time we needed something.
Right. Because we didn't have a 10 by 70 booth. We had 10 by 10 tucked in a corner.
We also didn't have a name at all. We actually hid the name that year going in, right? Because we were going to open a booth and a store, and we didn't want anybody to know until we were there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was pretty quiet.
It was our coming out party at that thing.
Yeah.
So have some sort of hook, and like I said, if you can align that with your passion, if like if what you want to sell is curved deck boards, then obviously do a curved deck. That makes sense. But do things that you excel at. Obviously, having a TV. I think having a TV is a great thing. We're doing that this year.
Some sort of like changing thing, right? If you have the ability to like marquee stuff, that works pretty well.
Can you guys on the Instagram hear us? Like, I don't know how noisy it is for this thing. Like, we hear each other just fine, but I don't know if the Instagram people can hear us or not. TC Dex has a question. He's like, oh, this looks like fun. Where are you guys? So we're at our first trade show in 2 years. The funny thing is, not funny. It wasn't funny at all. 2 years ago, we were building, actually, this booth behind us to use at the Saskatoon trade show. We were in the middle of building it when the calls came to say, like, these shows are canceled. And so here we are, fast forward 2 years, and we're back. And so that's why, like, we're excited to do this from the trade show and talk about trade shows.
23
happening again.
23-year warranty left on that deck.
On that one, yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, hasn't even been used.
Yeah.
Is there a scenario where you think that there's like how am I trying to word this? What do you think about the idea of taking deposits at the show? Like, so say people were ready to commit to building a deck. Maybe they've talked to you already. The first person that stopped at our booth today had already talked to us previously, right?
Correct.
She showed up and was like, I've been emailing back and forth, and there was a chance for her to see us in person.
Yeah.
Would you, like, if she said, I want to book in today and take a deposit, were you prepared to do that?
Yes. Like, no, but I never say no to money, right?
It would have been just like cash in the pocket or what?
Whatever. However.
E-transfer me?
Yeah, you could e-transfer, you bet. Here's my email address. Or, like you said, we brought our computer and we have the ability to enter credit cards in on our quoting software.
Yeah.
And so
we did this.
Found a way.
The first year, we did all sorts of things the first year that we now recommend not doing. Don't hire football players. Yeah. But we did do a little thing at the first year. We had a brand of decking clubhouse that we were working with at that time, and we sold a discounted price essentially at the show.
Yep.
And
a show special.
I don't know. This is probably not advice for anybody because very unique scenario we were at that point. We weren't contractors anymore. We were getting into retail, but we weren't actually open yet, and like we didn't actually book a bunch of inventory yet, and whatever else. But what we did was we decided to say, hey, let's take deposits. If somebody puts $100 deposit down, we'll guarantee them 10% off their order when they're ready to place it this year.
Yeah.
So if you know you're doing a deck, right here, right now, you could put down, and we had a form that you could choose your colors, which color you wanted to use, whatever. We had the samples there.
Which was going to help us order material.
That's why we did it, right? It was like, we want to know who's serious. So if we take deposits and they choose the colors, we can order that material ahead of time during the booking period, buy it a little bit cheaper and sell it later. Like, that's obviously not how we operate anymore because we've grown into our shoes a little bit now. But that's how we did it. And lo and behold, 5 people did it. I remember we took 5 deposits.
Yep.
We were able to order the material. It worked. Like, for not trying to sell at a show, we actually ended up selling a few things, and I don't remember, like, we must have been through like a Square Reader or something. I don't remember. Oh no, we took checks. That was 6 years ago.
Well, one of them was a check, but I feel like the other one we wrote credit card information down on a paper.
Oh, you're right. We were collecting credit card information manually. Yep, that's right.
Just
That was
go
part
ahead,
of the form.
write your credit card number down here,
Yeah.
and then your name and
Sorry.
sign it.
Sorry, where's your guys' store?
We don't really have one yet.
And you want me to give you? I remember there was one guy that did exactly this. His name was Graham, and he was like,
nope.
and you guys want me to just give you my credit card, and you are just starting. But he did.
Did he?
Yep, he did. I remember he booked it, and
I
that
thought he
happened.
came to the store like the Monday after, and then was like, I was at the show and I wasn't comfortable giving my card, but I'm here again.
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Because he
things a
was an
little bit.
RCMP officer too, right? He was
Yeah, maybe.
So,
Pretty
anyways,
funny.
he came right away after, I think. But regardless, it was sketchy, and he knew it was sketchy.
What do you have to say to the guys who say that who swear off trade shows? They're like, they don't work. They've never worked. Do you think it's like they've not approached them properly, or?
I think that's good for them to not be there at those shows. And the reason I say that is if you go there with that attitude, that's exactly how successful you'll be.
Right.
And so,
Hopefully, I'm trying to pick up audio better if I do this. So when you're talking, they can't hear you.
Oh, because it's very faint. I
Yeah.
see. So I would say that if you go in with like a negative feel to the show, that's what you'll get out of it.
Right.
And so I don't think that people that don't want to do shows should do them. I think if you have the energy and you want to go and you want to sell and you want to showcase your business, then absolutely you should invest in a home show.
I do think it totally comes down to personality type, because these shows are absolutely not for everybody.
No.
And I can understand that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Like, I appreciate when people say, I don't want to do a show. It's like, okay, good. Don't.
They're a ton of work.
Yeah. And if you kind of don't want to do it, and then you put in a ton of work, and you only get, say you get 20 leads out of it. Like, I think that's good. That's like 20 leads is good. But if somebody else came here and said, well, the other guy, he got 100. And it was a waste of time. I knew I shouldn't have done it. And like,
Yeah.
okay.
But we've also been at these shows where it's, holy smokes, I need to scroll down here because there's a whole bunch of questions here. There we go. They're saying that's better now. We've been at a show before where like we've taken our typical approach of kind of like being super friendly, super approachable, but not being in people's faces. But then you look across the way, and then there's the people who are super aggressive. Then there's the people who are sitting on their phones the entire time, recording a podcast, not paying attention to anything.
Right. That's us.
No.
We're now there.
But we've seen the guys that sit in their booth with their face in their phone, and then those are the guys that are probably complaining later that the show didn't work. Nobody even stopped at the booth. Frick, you sat in a chair with your face buried the entire time. You were not approachable. What do you expect?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not the way to go about it either. Don't be don't be overly aggressive, but don't be like ridiculously passive about it either.
Yeah.
Be involved and engaged in the show. Another thing I love about these shows too, not only like, again, I haven't even walked around this show yet, so I don't know.
I haven't either.
But
We should do a
is
loop.
the chance to like potentially collaborate with other people that are there. You might meet your new screw pile guy at that show, or you might meet the new electrician you're going to work with to wire your jobs, or
Yep.
you might, you know what I mean, like, or landscape company is perfect, or a
you
supplier.
might sell a deck to one of the people that's working the show.
Right? Yeah. So it's just it's great exposure all the way around.
For me, it's just, I think the reason we like the shows so much is that we come here with the mindset of exposure,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah.
So how could we ever fail?
Yeah.
We can't, because we just want to be in front of a bunch of new people. So there it is.
We've talked, like, we think with marketing minds. So when we walk away from here and like nobody buys a deck, we're like, still valuable though,
That's a
because
really
they saw
good weekend,
our,
right? That was a good weekend.
They're
We
going to
had a
remember us better
Yeah.
when they do want one, probably, or something. So, anyways, hey, there's my sister-in-law. All you need to do is say hi, says Carly. Yeah, again, just being that approachable, friendly person. We've got our booth fairly well staffed here today, and I think we do a good job of hiring friendly people to begin with, so like they fit into this environment pretty well. But What would you say are some tips for somebody who's going to do their first home show that they're working the booth by themselves? Or maybe they have one helper, but they kind of have to be there all the time.
Yeah.
And the show is 3 days long and it's 12 hours a day. And like, do you have any tips for surviving these shows?
No, I don't. Like, so the first one, you always have to have a bunch of water on hand. I thought that throat lozenges were really good in our very first one because you do talk a lot. You talk for 12 hours a day for 3 days in a row.
Right.
And that is a lot. People aren't used to talking that much.
Yeah.
I used a bunch of Advil first time because I had a sore back from standing for that long. Typically, you don't stand that long.
Yeah.
So
hashtag old dude problems.
Yeah,
It just gets worse year and year.
Yeah. But then also maybe take a break. Like, I think it's important to walk away from the deck for a bit. Like, if you have somebody to help and cover,
Yeah.
just go for a loop for half an hour. Just go sit somewhere quietly. In a room, right?
Yeah, sometimes these shows, depending on the size of the show, I guess, sometimes they'll have an area that's kind of like the exhibitor's only area. Where it's just a chance to go get off the floor, have a coffee, have a bite, or just take a break.
Yeah.
And just get off the buzz of the floor a little bit.
Yep.
You do have to kind of like check out a little bit.
And then I would say be prepared to capture information, right?
Right.
Be ready to, like, when you get there and you're going to put the show on and you're going to do a deck and you're going to sell yourself, be ready to sell yourself.
Right.
Get a haircut. Yours
Like
looks good, by the way.
Yeah, I got her tight this morning, boy.
Yeah.
I was going to say too that people, if you're going to do the booth, you need to put in maybe even more effort than you might think. I think the idea, I often see vendors from vendors and sometimes contractors too. They show up, they take the show assigned or the show offered table, and they throw some samples of decking down on it, and they put up a roll-up banner maybe, and then they like I don't know. I'm a big believer in making it look like you're not just here for 2 days. Like, make the booth look like it's like something that people want to come check out. I don't. If you haven't put enough effort into your booth, I kind of don't feel like I want to put effort into learning about your product either, or your service.
Yeah, or is that a reflection of your work?
Just doing the bare minimum?
Just did enough.
Yeah.
He did just enough.
Yeah. We've had a
That's
ton of
okay.
people stop, like, I don't know, if we should walk here on the show. Our booth is a little bit ridiculous for this show. Like, we went a little bit over the top compared to the show. Like I said, a lot of these people here can operate out of a single small booth because they're just smelling small goods. And we went like as if this was a full spring home show times 2 on it. So,
Yeah.
But how many compliments have we gotten? Like, a lot of people are stopping me like, this looks amazing.
So
this
far,
is so good.
so good. Yeah, it's well received.
So I would, if you told me that we were going to do a home show and you're like, what do we have to do to set up? Grab a box of samples and one of the roll-up banners and we're just going to put a tablecloth on a thing, whatever. Like, I wouldn't even be excited to do that show anymore. My energy would be drained from that. I'd be like, I don't care to do that.
I think you could talk me into doing that next weekend.
Yeah, maybe if you're doing a bunch of them, maybe alternate. But
Yeah.
anyways, that's kind of my attitude towards the whole thing. Carly says, Wade, are you saying I need to chop my curls with that get a haircut job?
No, you just need to make sure your hair's done. That's all, right? It's
Right. TC Deck says, my tip would be if you're an introvert, hire an extrovert to run it for you.
Not the worst idea.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Like a sales, in your head, you're hiring somebody for your sales team. If you're not that salesy, then you need a salesperson.
The one thing I would caution on that is that we've been talking about how this is a chance to sell yourself and make that first impression. You don't want to hire somebody that doesn't represent you well or doesn't have your knowledge or whatever. Like, you probably still need to be there to, like, I think mine is actually, you might just have to find a way to get a little bit more excited about it. Like, you're an introvert, sure, but find your communication medium. If that means you feel more comfortable sitting behind a table and showing somebody something, so it's not like a super in-depth one-on-one conversation, then have those things there. Have your props. Have your computer there so you can kind of go through a design program with them or something, or show them some pictures or whatever it is. I think you got to get out of that a little bit because it's just like, that's risky. I think to just be like, oh, my cousin Teddy, he's like super outgoing. I'll just have him in there. And then somebody pops by and Teddy's like, shit, yeah, we could build you anything we want. Like, over-promising and not representing you well. Yeah. So that's the tricky thing too, I think. But
that's dangerous for sure.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
So
that's what this is. So I don't know if there's much more to talk about. How are you? This is the fun thing about the shows is that you get to be like live and interactive with people that walk by.
Like shows are, because shows are great.
Right. So how do you, okay, before, I was going to sign off, but before we get to that, because this is what I like about them, is virtual trade shows. Would you do a virtual, if the Regina Spring Home Show and the Saskatoon Homeshow shows just said they were going to go virtual this year, would you do one?
No. We didn't do them last year. They were virtual the last couple of years, weren't they?
I don't know. Don't care.
Exactly.
That's my attitude towards it.
So no.
Because
I didn't do
it strips out everything that we just talked about, the benefit of doing a show. It strips all of that out. You no longer have the ability to make a good first impression. If you want to send somebody on a computer screen, send them to your website.
Yeah.
Not to a virtual trade show. Like, I don't know. They're awful.
We booked into a few trade shows this year, and I anticipated that they would be less attended, not poorly attended, but they will not have the attendance they did before.
Right.
Some people are nervous still, and that's totally fine. But the value of being at the show is worth it because the people that come are interested. It is a captive audience. It always has been. They have to pay to get in the door.
Yeah.
And so even if these people aren't renovating a deck right now, they're either renovating maybe they're renovating their kitchen or whatever, but that means the house is old enough that they're renovating it.
Right.
And so you may have missed your opportunity at a deck, but they also likely have friends and neighbors and other people in their circle, their peer group, that are renovating as well.
Yeah.
And so they'll be like, you know what, we just did our deck, but we were at the home show this weekend and we saw these guys from the Ultimate Deck Shop, and you should check them out. You're doing your deck. Like, maybe they can help you.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
it. That's enough there.
Yeah, I agree.
So even if it is poorly attended or less attended, I would do an in-person show where they promised me 10 people would come over a virtual show where they promised me 11,000 people would go.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about virtual shows. I just can't.
I don't disagree. I don't like them at all. I've not run into one yet that I was like, that was well done. That worked for me.
Oh boy, I hope they do another
trade show.
one like that.
Yeah. No, they're just awful. Industry trade shows. How do you feel about contractors spending, because it obviously it costs money, spending money to travel somewhere to attend a show that's like Deck Expo, for example, or IBS, for example. Waste of time? What do you think?
Again, I think it's person driven, right? So like you said, if you're an introvert, don't go.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anything out of that. But if you want to talk to people that are in your group, people that can help grow your business, people that will share information with you, I think it's really valuable. You can find some products that maybe your lumberyard doesn't typically stock, and you can come back and be like, hey, can you help me with this? I think there is a lot of information to be gleaned from those shows.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people in our industry now that are willing to help you and want to help.
Yeah. I got to admit, my reason for attending those shows changed over the years. The first time I ever went to a Deck Expo, which would have been 2015, October 2015, I was going there for the products. I was going there because I was new. I wasn't new to the industry, but I was new to the industry.
Yes.
Maybe not new to So I wanted to go there and check out all these cool, great new products that I wasn't seeing. This is the whole reason we opened the store. That I wasn't seeing in our local market that I learned about, and I was like, I want to go there and learn about stuff, and I'm going to go there. And I went there by myself. It wasn't about Instagram whatsoever. I was following some people and recognized people, and I was there, but that wasn't the reason. Now, that's almost entirely the reason. I enjoy going there and seeing the new products, but it's not an industry that changes that fast.
It's not so innovative you haven't seen it already on Instagram or somebody shared it with you.
Yeah, there's other ways to get that information for sure. And I also think that if that was your purpose, was to go and see new products, you're probably better off to go to those things every couple years.
Yeah.
Year to year, there's not a whole lot that really happens. I would say every time you go to one of those shows, there's a new product maybe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even mean that it's a good one.
No.
It's just a new one.
Yeah.
But for us now, I think more than anything, it's getting there and just being part of that community. And that's what's sucked so bad for the last 2 years, is not being able to get to those shows, being part of that community, sharing our brand out there and trying to strengthen the brand. It's hurt the last couple of years to not be able to do that. It's also been, like selfishly, at the end of the year, it's a nice wind down to go meet up with all the guys that you haven't seen all year, all your buddies and all your friends and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah.
So,
And just to talk about the season and get information from everybody else about how their year went, and
yeah.
they're like crappies and happies, right? Whatever. Like,
Crappies and happies. That should be the name of our Friday happy hour.
yeah.
Crappies and happies.
Crappies and happies.
That's pretty good.
Could be.
I don't think we have any comments there. No. Anything else that you wanted to touch on? What about vendors? From a vendor perspective, trade shows, is that the way you get your product out there nowadays?
I don't know.
Like obviously industry ones I'm talking, not your local. Well, it could be either, I guess. But
Yeah. No, like, yeah. No,
The
I
reason-
don't feel like the vendors crush at those shows, because when we go, we're typically the guys that have our backup, or I'm not trying to buy anything.
right.
And so it's got to be pretty innovative in that room to get it to me.
Yeah. So there's.
But you should be there, because if you're new, I want to see it.
Yeah, that's the thing with products is like that is a hands-on thing for a lot of things, right?
I'm going to
If
see it,
you're-
but I'm probably not going to take anything from
If you're releasing a new tool or a new clip, something that requires some dexterity to understand a little bit, it's like that's hard to sell on the internet sometimes. Especially if you're selling a new tool that's going to cost like $400, $500, $600.
Yep.
Like it's an investment, so nobody's going to buy it on a whim.
Yep.
Being at a show and giving people the chance to like hands-on with stuff. I'll be honest, the first time I took the camo edge system seriously was getting hands on it.
Yes.
It seemed gimmicky, and then you actually use it, and like that's why they do demos at these shows.
Yeah, you were like, oh,
Right.
I get it.
It all of a sudden just makes sense.
Yeah, this
So
is
if you have a
gonna
new
work.
product. Now that said, there was I think this last Deck Expo, we weren't there, but I saw there was like the deck staining robot. See, that
Yes.
thing is like a,
Yeah,
like a
Like
what do
an
you call it?
iRobot. I bought.
Yeah, a Roomba. That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
Like a Roomba for your deck that stains. It was like, that's really cool. However, like all they had there was a roll-up banner. And so like you can create some intrigue, but that's something you got to see in action.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Like-
I'd like to see that.
The thing
moving around.
costs something like $7,000 too. So like you need to touch and feel that. You're not just going to order one of those off the internet from Sweden and be like,
Yeah.
hope it works well.
How many times? Like, how am I can do 3 decks and then return it, or just one, or
Yeah.
like what's my?
Yeah. So there's certainly some questions to be asked there. Haney Construction says, still hoping we'll have a TUDS location in New England this year.
Boy, not this year. That's,
We're running out of time here. We're actually we're back to, maybe we'll be at the New England JLC. We'll do a booth there.
that'd be fun.
So,
Yeah.
anything else to add, Wade, or should we get back to this beautiful show and maybe go take a tour around here and see what's going on?
I have nothing to add. I like the shows. I like home shows. I'm glad they're back for us. They've been back in other parts of the world for a little bit now,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm gonna my parting piece is yes, I think you should do them. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much back and forth. Yes, I think for both. Yes, I think that you should get out there and put a booth in your local spring home show. I believe that there is a lot of value there. Like Gary Vaynerchuk says a lot of times, it's like a lot of people go try Facebook ads. It doesn't work. They quit and they blame Facebook. Facebook ads don't work. No, just because you ran one campaign that
Yeah.
you didn't do properly and it didn't work doesn't mean this doesn't work. Like,
Yeah.
trade shows work.
Yes, they do.
Home shows work.
Yes.
If you didn't get value out of it, it's probably because you didn't do it well or with the right attitude, which is kind of what we
Yeah,
talked
and I think you could put up a poor display and take a great attitude and do really well.
better than
The other way around.
better than a nice display and being a never mind.
Negative person.
Like there are a lot of people watching as we walk by here. I was
Negative
gonna-
person. That's
yeah,
it. Just like
yeah.
if you come with a bad attitude, that's exactly what you'll get.
Yeah.
So
But the best combo is to put the effort in, treat it seriously. Don't treat it like I just have to show up with my samples on my table. This is not an opportunity to sell like you would out of the back of your truck. Like
Correct.
set down some roots, make a nice display, have something eye-catching, have a conversation starter of some sort. Be laid back but approachable. Don't get on top of people. Be friendly.
Yeah.
Leave the first impression and leave that person wanting more. If there's somebody there that wants a deck this year and they've had a chance to talk to you after your conversation at that show, they should be like, you know what? That's the person we're going to hire to do our deck this year.
You
It's going to
should
take a couple more conversations.
you should certainly be way out in front
Right.
of everybody else,
Yeah.
right?
And if
So-
you're there and your competitors aren't, like that's a significant lead that
Yes.
you've put like
Yep.
Way ahead. They might decide right then and there that they don't need to go get other quotes because they've met that person. Like, we'll have to get a quote from him and whatever, make sure it all works. But it's like, we want to work with that guy.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot for us to not want to work with him now.
He's really professional. He invests in his company.
Yeah.
We've seen his work firsthand.
Yeah.
Like, the miters were good.
He's real, not a fly-by-night, not a chuck in a truck kind of thing.
Yeah.
USMC says, you coming to GLC? No plans at this point. No, I don't think so. I don't even know when JLC is. There's 3 of them a year, I think, all the time, right?
Yeah.
And then the vendor part of it too, this is where I'm a little bit more, like, if you want to be part of that community, if you want to learn, if you want to build your own brand outside of your, like, for whatever reasons, like some guys are looking to have a brand online for whatever it's leverage with getting tools or whatever their reasoning is for it. They're trying to be bigger than just a deck builder in their own market. Then yes, go to those shows, take advantage of it, meet people. It's important. If you don't care about any of that, then don't waste the money.
Correct.
Like, you're not going to get anything out of those shows if you don't care about building your brand outside your market. You're not selling decks at those shows.
Yep.
So, and if you're already committed and you're like, no, I'm a Trex installer, I use Trex things, and like I'm comfortable with what I have, then there's not even new materials to see. Like, who cares? Save your money, put it towards something else, market yourself in a different way.
That's right. Yep. I agree with that as well.
Okay. Well, if that's all we got, then I'm going to sign this sucker off because
that's it.
I'm looking forward to getting back to this show. And I hit the wrong button on getting out of here, though. I hit the wrong button on getting out of here. So we'll go back here and then, but this is, when Bryce is here, it's way easier. I don't even know what this closer is. So that's it. We're not going to have one this week. We're going to send it out with applause. See you guys later. Take it easy. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.